29 minutes now before the stop of the hour, 8 o'clock, but we've got papers to serve in between these minutes leading up to that hour. So, this is how we say welcome to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Let's make welcome the gentleman who joined me to break down the papers this morning. I say good morning to AB Bozimo.
Hi, good morning. Great to see you guys in the studio. Happy New Week. Good morning to all of the wonderful listeners.
And next, I say good morning and welcome to Mr. C.
Good morning, MS. Good morning, AB. Good morning, Lagos.
Well, the good morning is out of the way. It's time to roll the papers in as they come very fast this morning. So, Mr. C would like you to start us off this morning with this from the stand of the Punch newspaper this morning, where it is leading with the headline here. 3 months repair of the third mainland bridge to begin November 1. That's like over tomorrow, if we want to look at it that way already. So, take us through this, how we have just returned from probably less a 48-hour closure somewhere to do palliative, leading us into this, and then take us to how we have also had the past administration, the past minister working and at some points closing this bridge for a period. And here we are, we need to do this for another 3 months.
Okay, thank you, MS. So let's start off by looking at the age of the Third Mainland Bridge. That is a very old bridge. Now, we must remember that as at 1990, it had not yet been completed. It was under the regime of President Ibrahim Babangida that it was completed from the Adekunle end up to Shoki, and 1990 was 33 years ago. Anyone who was born in 1990 is 33 years today. Now, in the same period of time, we are all witnesses to the maintenance culture or the near absence of it in Nigeria. And the Third Mainland Bridge is not the only bridge that has suffered from a lack of consistent and deliberate maintenance. Virtually all the major bridges in Lagos suffer from one defect or the other. And the Minister for Works, Senator Umahi, was in Lagos over the weekend. He had inspected the top of the bridge previously, and then he took a ferry underneath to inspect all the surfaces underneath. And he did indicate that what is required for all the major bridges in Lagos is a complete rehabilitation, but that because they are mindful of the effect it would have on motorists and the people of Lagos, they are going to have to face it. So the first phase is this 3-month period starting on Wednesday. And they're looking to do the repairs from midnight to about 4 a.m. and then on weekends. And they're engaging more than one contractor to get it done. Now, it bears pointing out that even after this, there will still be needed some other maintenance. And they're going to extend it. So they're going to move from Eko to Carter to Independence to Five Cowrie Bridge and the other bridges in Lagos. Now, what does that tell us? When bridges are constructed, they have a definite lifespan. If you want to use the bridge beyond the intended lifespan, you must be deliberate. You must have a plan on ground to maintain it. Now, they've continued to patch in bits and pieces all over the bridge, and the minister has pointed out that bridge is undulating. And for those of us who have had opportunity to go on that bridge, we can testify easily to this. Now, with this phase 1 comes solar powered lights and CCTV. Now, the bigger question here is, will these items be vandalized or stolen? So this is a good step from the government, and they should extend it so that the unfortunate incident that happened in Enugu a few weeks ago, where a bridge collapsed on a Monday, doesn't happen here, because unlike the East, where there's a sit-at-home order, which is seemingly effective, Lagos, every day, hundreds of thousands of Lagosians cross each bridge you can think of. So this is very good, and I do hope they will extend it to the other bridges and even to the roads, and let's start to develop and maintain a proper maintenance culture.
All right, I'd like AB to weigh in on this because your expertise will be needed in this regard. Take us through what you have to say on this bridge.
I am, first of all, very delighted with the project management approach where the needs of the people are considered. So they're trying to do the work in the late hours of night, and also dividing it into lots so that it's done faster. Then most importantly, the statement that this is no more just, if you want to call it palliative work, we want to really reconstruct. It suggests a person in charge of the Ministry of Works who has the necessary technical knowledge of what the problems are and has mapped out a good procedure. So I am delighted. I'm hoping that I'll stop having those, bouncing effects that we used to have on that bridge when you put it all together. Let's look forward to much better traffic flow on that bridge and other bridges in Lagos.
Okay, that leads us to the stand of the Vanguard newspaper this morning, where the paper for your attention is saying the federal government to integrate Almajiri out-of-school children to schools. That's according to the Minister of Education. And that Almajiri in the phrase used here would also stir up the past administration of President Goodluck Jonathan. I'd like you to walk us through this and help us understand this all over again.
Okay, in Sokoto, very recently, the minister was there talking about how they want to ensure that while retaining elements of the traditional Quranic education, they want to tackle very directly and deliberately the phenomenon of children out of school. Yes, we have the Almajiri Almajiri thing, which from this story, we understand it was something that the former President Jonathan had seen already done and wanted to adopt it and spread it around. And that's what he tried to do. But here's the thing. Almajiri are one set of out-of-school children, absolutely abhorrent. But there are many other out-of-school children in all the other parts of the country. So while I see this, I want to hope, pray, and plan that this same effort is applied to every other sector of the country. Maybe in the other places, they are not associated with Quranic schooling, but in many places, many towns, you see children who are clearly of school age, who are doing odd jobs or begging or worse. And that means you're already putting in them no hope for their future. The hope is that these children will still continue their Quranic education, the ones in question here, and get some other life skills and be able to create wealth for themselves over time. So anything, frankly, where you emphasize educating people both in standard and vocational education, I completely applaud. And I just want us to see this story 3 months from now, 12 months from now, what progress. I hope that the journalists will follow up on this initiative, because it's one thing to announce an initiative. It's another thing to know whether it's being effectively followed through. So I think that's another good story. Let's hope that those children's lives will be transformed across the country for the better.
And this is where we'd like the listener to know that we expect your messages in reaction to the headlines we're serving this morning and having the analysts help us and dissect this morning. We expect your contributions. That's your reaction to as WhatsApp message to 0809 444 0981 be where we get those messages in. 0809 444 0981 will be where we get those WhatsApp messages. All right, see them pouring in trickles now, but they will start pouring very hard very soon. So let's get on to this next story, Mr. C. I don't know how good your German is, but then ich bin would mean I am in a way. But let's get into this one and see what the Daily Trust stand is pushing up this morning with this story. Germany to facilitate provision of cheap electricity to Nigeria and other ECOWAS country. And this is off of the back of the Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, was in Abuja and talking about this. So, but now the mention of electricity would stir up the Siemens. So the Siemens issue contract we had. So help us walk through this story.
Okay, thank you, Mas. So the Chancellor of the Republic of Germany was in Abuja over the weekend and he met with the president. He also met with the president of the ECOWAS Commission, and he announced the further grant of 81 million euros to the ECOWAS Commission to encourage and provide cheaper sources of electricity for the sub-region. Now, this is commendable from Germany, but there are lessons we can take from this. One, Germany is in another continent across the Atlantic, but they're concerned about providing cheap electricity. Now, why are they concerned? Because There is no society today that has properly developed without cheap power, regular power. Now they need the countries in the sub-region to have regular power because the sub-region has the population numbers. So it has potential, there are potential markets for German products. And German companies are looking to export their products and services over time. Now, if you can grow the economy or the economies of your potential customers to the point where they have the necessary cash to buy your products, it is good for the German economy. Mm-hmm. Now, this is also in line with what Siemens is already doing in Nigeria. And I want to believe that in furtherance of this grant, Siemens will be deployed along with some other German companies to ensure that this cheaper form of power is provided. Now, it's also a win-win for the African people in the sub-region because once you've sorted out power, then what's left to sort out will be education, will be housing, will be education, housing, and maybe salaries or the economy. But this is a good step because everything will grow. There'll be increased citizen satisfaction. And then we can then make the necessary leap of progression to the next phase where we ought to be and we'll catch up with the world. Because when there's steady power, guess what? You also have greater internet penetration. Now, when there's greater internet penetration, there's a cross-pollination of ideas, both from within the sub-region and outside. And when you take the best of the ideas you get from outside, you can only have a better sub-region.
Before we'll let this story go to sleep, we'll just quickly, still staying with you, Mr. C. Now, this visit of the Chancellor in itself couldn't have been at a more better time when you consider what's happening to a neighbor, and that calls the phrase in Ghana. Over the weekend, there's been reported blackout in major areas of that country. And so you might want to just recall the Ghanaian phrase, O'Brien, this world, life is war in itself, and especially without power. So I'd like you to link that in itself and see how Africa is still circling around this issue of power.
Okay, thank you much. So it's sad to hear the reports about the power blackouts in Ghana over the weekend because before now, Ghana has been a bit stable with regards to power. And let's not forget they get some of the power they consume from Nigeria. Now, power is something the African region, the West African sub-region and Africa by extension needs to fix if they're going to finally realize their potential of being an economic and continental superpower. We cannot continue to rest on or sit on our thumbs, twiddle our thumbs, and hope that we will get better if we don't sort out power. Power must be sorted out, and if we can receive help from anywhere to do that, then we should grab it with both hands and let's consign to history this era of blackouts, prolonged or extended periods of no power supply, and let's gradually sweep out alternative generating sources that use fuel such as diesel or LPG. And if we're going to use power, if it's not gas powered, let's also consider strongly renewable sources of energy.
Thank you. I see Mr. A.V. Bozimo throwing something.
Very quickly, anytime I hear about power contracts and foreign governments, I'm reminded of the book, The Economic Hitman. So I'm happy to hear us doing all we must do to improve our power, and that word is must. But let's very carefully scrutinize any of the types of agreements we come up with, because those power agreements have in times past been used to permanently plunder and de-energize certain countries. We must use wisdom, but any initiatives that are well-intentioned are absolutely welcome.
And this is where we'd also like you to help us break down this next paper before we see what messages we've got in this morning. And this one is waiting for you, A.V. Bozimo, and it's the Daily Post. It says, federal government to move to facilitate speedy delivery of attack helicopters to the Nigerian Air Force. That's what we're looking at here. And match this up to August also as you help us build the story where we know we lost an helicopter somewhere in Kaduna after takeoff. NAF, and then also link up the fact that we're expecting 18 helicopters, attack helicopters from Turkey and the US.
Okay, the Minister of Defense has gone to Turkey and as well as the Chief of Air Staff to, according to the story, facilitate the speedy delivery of certain attack helicopters to the Nigerian Air Force. So we know that's good for security potentially. I'm just curious. I'm sure these helicopters, there was a specific order for a specific number with a specific delivery timeline. What on earth are the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Air Staff about to do? Carry a hammer or a spanner or paint? What are they going to do that's going to be outside of the contract? There were delivery. Yes, you can enhance. Maybe you wanted to deliver 6 at a time. You might say, okay, focus on the first 2, but it's going to have an effect at the end of the day. The key thing is that the intention is clear. We want to be able to use these items to tackle the various security challenges across the country. So I think this is a headline that contains very little to deal with. We have ordered attack helicopters. Our people are going there with ESTA code to go and look at it and come back. Let's welcome them when they come back, and let's pray that our helicopters are delivered in time so that we can tackle the true issues of insecurity.
Okay, so very quickly, right? It's good to get additional aerial platforms. Now, we had Tucano platforms delivered last year or the year before. Why aren't we using them all the time? So I think the problem for me is not in the numbers. You can acquire all these aerial platforms and hardware. If you do not use them, then what's the point? And like AB rightly said, for the love of everything good, I don't know what those gentlemen are doing over there.
When they come back, like AB has said, we'll welcome them and then they would explain what they've done there to see if it's up to specification. But in the meantime, let's quickly race down and see the messages, because if we don't pick them up now, we'll be out of time, but then you can treat them all. I've got Kende Olanigon who sent in this one. The lack of maintenance culture is not the issue, but the corruption at the top. This is annual budget for road maintenance in the Federal Ministry of Works. What happens to this? Maybe someone that knows better should explain to us. That's relating to how the bridges in the country still need a lot of attention, yet we make budgetary provisions every year, is what is raising Kende Olanigon. And then Dan Okudwa will drop in this one for us this morning, saying the Almajiri phenomenon is everywhere and not just in the north. Under the Child Rights Act, every Nigerian child is entitled to decent education. Barrister Dan Okuda from Igondo left us that one. Angel UK left us this one. Mr. C forgot to mention the German visit and proposal is linked to Russia's presence in Africa. So the race for Africa's support is still in here. El Como leaves us a very short one. Please note that Ghana does not buy power from Nigeria. El Como left that one. Okay. So El Como, we hear from you. So let's get in here with this one from Tonye from Magodo. Although I hear the analysts reveling in the good stories in the newspaper, I think it's a bit presumptuous, especially as it hasn't actually happened. It's all future hopes in his opinion, this opinion of Tonye. Is there anything that is actually good happening in the country right now, as in today? That's what Tonye is asking. Let's move on to Shegun. Shegun says, I still can't forget that 16 billion US dollars we supposedly spent on power, a real opportunity squandered. That's Shegun leaving us that one, tracing it back to sometime 1999 down to some 2007 in a way, but yeah, let's move on. In other news, next one will come in here. Judy says, I think East African countries like Kenya is fixed power, but I stand to be corrected. We need to learn from them. What are they doing that we need to replicate here in Nigeria and even in the ECOWAS sub-region? Ibukun will leave us this one. Culture eats strategy for lunch every day. If you do not change the culture and mindset behind the Almajiri issue, we are just wasting time and money. Islamic education is not synonymous with poverty. We have good Islamic schools all over the Southwest. Ibukun from K2 left us that part. Dami from Ikeja would say the use of attack helicopters to bomb our own citizen isn't the flex you all think it is. The destructive tendencies of our leaders continues unabated. Thoughts of Dami from Ikeja. And then I would find this one from Austin from Austin here from Satellite. Turkey, that is known for supporting terrorists all over the world, is donating attack helicopters to Nigeria. That's a big question mark that Austin from Satellite is raising this morning. That's a well. So, which leaves us. Well, that will have to wait until we're done. Let's get on to this next one here, Mr. C. This one is for you. The PIA, the Petroleum Industry Act, Senate to probe potential exit of international oil firms in the country. The next question is, did we just wake up to realize that international companies are jackbuying?
Okay, thank you, Mas. So the Senate again has shown that it's truly a wonderful set of, wonderful collection of individuals. The PIA was passed, I think, last year or 2 years ago. Now, we have been witnesses to the continued and persistent theft of crude oil from properly installed pipelines and terminals in Nigeria. And each time we get the nebulous phrase that, oh, they're tracking them down, they will bring them to justice, they'll bring them to book. Then when vessels are found with crude oil believed to be stolen, what happens is the vessels are destroyed. Now, what we have now witnessed is the international oil companies have now taken a stance that they will move offshore where they can properly secure their assets, and onshore they will sell off their assets, and they're selling off to whoever is interested. Now, the result of that is it is only indigenous companies that will be interested, because no international oil company will see a fellow international oil company exiting a particular location and jump in. Now, the Senate is concerned that the indigenous oil companies may not have the expertise, the cash strength, the cash reserves to properly exploit and extract all the crude oil contained in those fields. That is not the real issue for me. The real issue for me is, how can the continued theft of crude oil remain unabated? How is it that nobody has been put to book? How is it that no heads have rolled in the security architecture that is supposed to be guarding and policing the Niger Delta? Because we've had the Joint Task Force there for at least 10, 15 years. Nobody has ever been taken to task. And when illegal pipelines are discovered, the sophistication and the ingenuity used in erecting those illegal pipelines gives the lie to whatever job the security guys are supposed to have been doing or have done. Because those illegal setups were not done overnight, they were not done hurriedly, they were done taking their time. And to move those pieces of equipment in, you can't use a canoe or a speedboat. You will use a heavy vessel. So what exactly is going on? And if we're not careful, they will totally exit Nigeria. So we can continue playing the ostrich with our heads in the sand, or we can then decide to wake up and address this issue head on once and for all.
Maybe I understand you want to throw something in on this story, but also I will speak to complicity in this point, security, the presence. That's why they're leaving.
That point is so real. These pipes are not what they call man carry. In construction, there are some elements men or one or two men can carry. A pipe, a plastic pipe, a bathtub. The pipes we're talking about in many cases are high pressure, high weight pipes that need to be carried with cranes. Cranes don't move quietly or anonymously. There is no way to do that level of connection and sophistication if people are not, frankly, watching over you. So this is not mystery anymore. And what seems to be happening now that they are trying to be in a panic is that for too long they have neglected the core issue. If a set of people feel that whatever resource is coming from their area and destroying their land is benefiting them, they will be the number one protectors. But the way it seems to some people right now is that that resource is paying for bulletproof and non-bulletproof jeeps far away in Abuja, while they cannot barely move. And the story I'll talk about next will further explain that. So listen, if you do not have resource control, you are simply, as they say in joke, sitting on a long thing. You are not going to have a solution to this.
All right, let's see if we can get in a few more messages before we leave on to 0809-444-0981. Let's just get them in as AB would help us stay with the Daily Trust stand this morning. And I have a tendency, I have a feeling somewhere that there might be the mention of Venice and the way people are able to move safely with canoes around houses constructed centuries ago. But then, this is the headline for you, AB. Boat with over 100 passengers capsizes in Taraba. Sad one for us this weekend.
An absolute tragedy. A completely unnecessary and unavoidable tragedy. We don't yet know the details about why indeed the boat capsized, so hopefully there'll be a study about that. But the things that came out from me from the story are as follows. Number one, none of the passengers on this boat had a life jacket. In Rivers State, after an unfortunate event some 3, 4, 5 years ago, where a boat capsized and one of the gentlemen dived in and was rescuing people 2 or 3 before he tragically lost his own life, it's a rule. You cannot board a boat in Rivers State without donning a life jacket. You can't just hold it in your lap. Whether you are Phelps or whoever the best swimmer is, you must wear it. You know how they ensure that? Because if the boat driver is seen to have conveyed a person who did not wear a life jacket, the boat driver will be punished. So the boat driver has an interest in ensuring his daily bread, and if you are going to be a threat to his daily bread, he'll refuse you entry. There is no reason why, when we can afford, I repeat, 150 million naira jeeps, we cannot afford 19,000 naira life vest for every single point of embarkation across Nigeria. This is Taraba, not even the Niger Delta now. Taraba, somewhere that some people will call Middle Belt to.
Okay, well, maybe the network is correct. You want to quickly add it? Go on.
Nigeria is a country of great natural beauty. We have so many excellent water bodies everywhere. We must make them advantageous and safe to use. I regret those people who lost their lives, and many others could lose their lives if you don't do the right thing.
It's becoming one too many, from Kwara to Adamawa and all of this place. And then you'd imagine that the inland waterways should be overseeing these axes to ensure
exactly
safety.
But they earn salaries every month. I don't know what they do. Even as it is, we don't have our rivers dredged. Flooding can come again another year. There's so much to be done. There are so many good people to do it, but the leadership does not want to do it, but they want to buy cars.
All right. So, Mr. C, this one comes in. It's just barely a minute to do this in 40 seconds. Nigeria needs your expertise. Defense Minister to retired officers. Do we really use our retired officers very well after we dismiss them?
So I think, thank you, Mas. So I think the first thing is, why are they even retired? Because you will appoint a very junior officer, elevate him to the post of chief of whatever arm of the armed forces, and then everyone on top of him who's experienced, who still has a wealth of experience to offer, is retired. Now you then come out, joke of all jokes, you need them. How do you need them? Are you engaging them? Are you talking to them? Are you letting them know, okay, this is our security architecture, this is how we want you to play? No, but you come, play to the gallery, issue a headline, and then you think we'll jump for it. No.
Thank you very much. And that's a wrap. I will call it a wrap in Freshly Pressed this morning. I want to say thank you to you, gentlemen, but let's quickly get in 2 messages we've got in here. This one says from Fibian from Ekpe says, so the government sets the standard in tackling corruption and becomes all-inclusive, neither impoverished power sector nor pipeline vandalism change. That's Fabian from Ekpe. And Peter from Festac leaves me with this one. Nigerian political elites are wicked. They don't care about the lives of the masses. They are specials in buying SUVs of 160 million. That's wickedness. That's in his opinion. And El Como comes back with a back and forth here. He says Nigeria sells power to countries only because the River Niger passes through them. The Republic of Benin, Togo, Niger Republic, it goes on. So now we want to say thank you to this man is a regular on the show that's talking about Idima Puza from Surulere. Happy birthday. It's your 68th birthday. Wishing you many more years ahead. 68 years old. So we say thank you very much, gentlemen. AB Bozimo, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you. The pleasure and privilege are always mine.
And I say thank you to Mr. C as always.
Thank you for having me.
And to you who sent in messages and who listened, it's been freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM. Good morning.